Good morning. It's Wednesday, June the 4th, and welcome to Conversations Here and Now. My name is Naresh, and thank you very much for watching. I'm going to talk about an issue that's come up in the GTA, but especially in Toronto, downtown Toronto. That is bike lanes. Now, I don't want anybody to take this as a criticism of Premier Ford. I'm talking about a policy. Premier Ford has done some very good things for the province of Ontario. So it's not that. I'm talking about bike lanes. What are the good things about them and what are the bad things about them? Almost all the cities, but especially Toronto and surrounding cities, have bike lanes. So we'll go over the benefits first. Having bike lanes offers several important benefits, both for the individuals and the city as a whole. Let's start by looking at some of the good stuff about bike lanes. First one, and the most important, is improved safety. For cyclists, dedicated bike lanes reduce the risk of collisions between cyclists and motor vehicles. And we've all seen plenty of those, period. So, bikes getting hit by cars, the car is always going to win. So it's really important to make traveling on roadways safer for bicyclists. For pedestrians, and if you don't allow them on the roadways, then a lot of them might go onto the sidewalks. So for pedestrians, separating bikes from sidewalks prevents conflicts between cyclists and walkers. In a collision between a cyclist and a person walking, the cyclist mostly wins, but they're both going to be badly hurt. So as we all know, on the roadways, it's not just cars, it's big delivery trucks, tractor trailers, semis, everything is traveling downtown Toronto. And these little bikes, if they get hit by one of those, it's going to be bad results. So I haven't ridden a bike in 30 years, and that's part of the reason. I don't feel safe on the road. Even with bike lanes, I don't feel safe. Second thing I can talk about is reduced traffic congestion. Encouraging more people to use a bicycle instead of driving reduces the number of cars on the road, which can alleviate traffic congestion, especially during rush hour. And third one that I will talk about is environmental benefits. More people cycling means fewer emissions from motor vehicles. It contributes to improved air quality and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Our planet is heating up. We all see climate change happening, so everything we can do to reduce our carbon footprint is better for the environment. Health benefits. Encouraging cycling promotes physical activity, which can lead to better public health outcomes and reduced healthcare costs. And that is absolutely true. Everybody tells everybody to get out and exercise, so then, their health will improve as well, as long as they get to do it safely. Health benefits, as long as you don't get hit by one of those cars or delivery trucks or tractor trailers. Definitely health benefits. Economic advantages. Cyclists are more likely to shop locally, boosting small businesses, because they can bike anywhere. They can just easily, lock up their bike and walk in, get what they want, and bike out. Lower infrastructure and maintenance costs for bikes compared to cars. Cars, you have to build huge parking lots or parking garages, especially downtown Toronto. There's really not many parking lots left. So you have to build parking garages. Whereas bikes, you just have to have their, the bike parking outside the building. It makes it much easier. People want to get around, they don't have cars, they can't afford cars. Car insurance is through the roof. Gas prices are through the roof. Maintenance is through the roof. What do you have to maintain in a bike, right? So some people can afford that. Urban livability, quieter, safer, and more attractive landscapes. Like, anything you can do to maybe take a few cars off the road is great. I mean, we've all gone downtown Toronto and it's just jam-packed, car to car, traffic is moving 5 inches, every 20 minutes. And we've all been in that kind of a traffic jam. Whereas you can see in the bike lane, people are just riding their bike, riding by. So I think that speaks to itself. Makes downtown Toronto a more vibrant, people-friendly area, which can attract residents, workers, and tourists. People love seeing, bicyclists because it makes the city look good. It makes the city look attractive rather than just huge traffic jams. I mean, the traffic jams are still happening, but anything you can do to cut down on the traffic jams, better transit, bike lanes, to help get more cars off the road. So it means bike lanes integrate well with public transit, allowing for more flexible and sustainable commuting options. Nowadays, most buses can hitch your bike into the front, and you can travel around the city. And then when you get off, you get your bike again and you bike away. So think about this. Even if you have to work for 30, 40 kilometers away, you get on your bike, grab the bus, put your bike in the bus, in front of the bus, attach it there, and then when you get close to your work, you get off the bus, grab your bike, and just bike in. So think about the environment, how you're protecting it. And as I said earlier, climate change is happening everywhere. We see it in the GTA for sure, every summer, every winter. So pros and the benefits are, overall, bike lanes help create a safer, healthier, more sustainable, and economically vibrant city. And the other thing everybody has to remember is that there's a lot of people whose jobs depend pretty much on bicycles. Couriers downtown Toronto, they can't be driving a car and stopping every 10 meters to deliver something in 5 different buildings. It's not feasible anymore. Hundreds of couriers and delivery people delivering stuff all around to offices, condos in downtown Toronto. And the best way for them to do that is using a bicycle. You can see them with their big backpacks, let's say DoorDash or whatever courier company they're working for. There's no way you can do that kind of a job with a car. These people can't even afford a car, most likely. And even if you could afford a car, where are you going to park it? Every 10 meters or every 5 minutes you have to stay? You can't. There's no more really parking on the street anymore. It's not allowed, especially in rush hours. So let's look at some of the arguments against bike lanes, okay? So there are several arguments that critics often raise against having bike lanes in downtown Toronto. These concerns come from a variety of stakeholders, including drivers, business owners, and some residents. Reduced car lane capacity, so traffic congestion. Critics argue that converting car lanes into bike lanes reduces road space for vehicles, potentially increasing congestion, especially during peak hours. Slower travel time for drivers and delivery vehicles. So that's an argument against it. So second one being loss of on-street parking, and I spoke about that. Adding bike lanes often means removing curbside parking, which can be a major concern for local businesses that rely on customer and delivery vehicle access. Residents who depend on street parking in dense downtown areas, parking's been taken away. So could be some of the bike lanes have reduced some of that parking, and people don't like that. Businesses don't like that. So that's a valid point. So impact on small businesses. Some business owners claim that fewer parking spots and increased traffic congestion may reduce foot traffic and hurt their revenue. Some deliveries can become more difficult with restricted curb access. Yes, Purolator, whatever, some, larger packages that can't be carried, or, Uber or whoever, Purolator, UPS, in their truck, they're carrying, 100 packages, and the driver can't obviously carry that on his back. So they have to drive this truck around, and they don't necessarily get an exemption. So they could get a ticket as well. So they're saying that if the bike lanes are there, then their parking spots are reduced. Valid concern. Underuse in winter or poor weather. Toronto has harsh winters. We already know that. Climate change affects that too. And critics argue that bike lanes are underused during cold months, but still occupy valuable road space year-round. And that is a concern. There are still people who ride bikes. We've all seen them. There are still people who ride their bikes, even if it's minus 20, minus 25. Yes, there's less, but there is still delivery is being done using bicycles, couriers, food deliveries, etc. They're still being done. So people do use them, but a lot less. Yes. Cost and maintenance. Building and maintaining bike lanes, especially protected ones, involves financial investment. Maybe less traffic congestion when a lot of people are using bikes if it's not snowing. Let's say maybe April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Possibly less congestion because a lot more people are using bikes. Even in surrounding municipalities, York, Mississauga, etc., there are bike lanes, and those bike lanes have taken out lanes of traffic, and people don't like that. And they're definitely not being used as much in the winter as they are in the summertime. So enforcement and misuse. So that's issues such as drivers or delivery vehicles blocking bike lanes are common. So that happens as well. So you get the bigger UPS vans, etc., Purolator, courier vans, and they block the bike lanes, and the bike has to go out into the traffic or go riding the sidewalk or something in order to get around that vehicle. And a lot of times now in Toronto, you're not allowed to block bike lanes. That's a fine. So where will these delivery vehicles go if they can't park where they used to be able to park to deliver their big packages? Right? Sometimes cars will use bike lanes to get around, to take a right turn, etc. So that results in people getting into arguments with car drivers, etc. So there's that. Perceived favoritism. Some see the focus on bike infrastructure as prioritizing cyclists or other road users, particularly drivers who still make up a large portion of commuters. So it could be looked at that the city is favoring bike riders. Possible, because there is a lot more cars. There's a lot more condos everywhere in downtown Toronto, so there's going to be a lot more cars for sure. And the roads haven't been built enough to keep up with all the condos that have been built. Thousands, literally, everybody who goes to Toronto sees that. Literally thousands of condos, thousands and hundreds and thousands. So people are going to have cars in these condos. A lot don't. They just use a bike or transit, but a lot do. Right? So people feel that you're prioritizing bikes or cars. Inefficient use of space. Well, critics argue that high-density downtown areas with limited road space, bike lanes might serve fewer people compared to a lane or transit or car traffic. So what people are saying that bike lanes are used, yes, but they're used by fewer people than they would be if it was a car lane, right? So it's a valid point as well. But what I would like everybody to remember in all of this is, no matter what you do, let's say if you take away the bike lanes in downtown Toronto completely to allow for car traffic, yes, so you'll get an extra lane, but there's still going to be people riding their bikes because they don't have cars. Sometimes they don't have a choice. The couriers and the delivery people, they have to use a bike. So they'll use that portion of the road without a bike lane. So think about that. Now you got chances of collisions happening, right? Because then you have a car and a bike sharing the same space, and you know, if there's a collision, the car will win. Now, if these bikes go onto the sidewalks, there's definitely chances of collisions happening, and you can't really in Toronto go on a sidewalk because there's just so many people on the sidewalk. So, you know, hundreds of delivery drivers and couriers work in the downtown area, and they live in the downtown area. And for them, a bicycle is the best way to do their job and make a living. They may not be able to make a living otherwise. I wouldn't personally ride a bike in Toronto even with a bike lane. You know, it's the traffic is horrific down there at times, and sometimes people are frustrated. They don't see bikes coming. You know, if there's no bike lane, they don't see the bike coming. Start taking a right turn and you have a nasty collision, right? People are always in a rush in their cars. So bike lanes make it safer for these people to do their jobs. You know, not having bike lanes puts their lives as well as the lives of, you know, people driving cars, other bicyclists at risk. So there has to be a balance in this. I don't think just ripping out the bike lane is probably the best answer, because where we are today in society, you know, there is a lot of people using bikes for their jobs. We order everything for delivery. I mean, I'm talking about courier packages, smaller courier packages that can be delivered. Not all of them are by car. A lot of them are by bike. And other delivery companies, food delivery companies, they use a bike. So, which they will do anyways. So, you know, I overall, I see the point on both sides of the argument, but knowing the fact that bicyclists will still be around no matter what, I think it may be more prudent to have a bike lane, especially right downtown Toronto. I know the argument is an extra lane would help, but especially downtown Toronto, because, you know, these people need to work. They need their bikes for their jobs. And again, some people don't have cars. So, you know, this is something that the politicians need to really discuss. You know, we can just put our points forward and that's it. Whether politicians listen or not, that's up to them. So anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any more comments on this topic, please put them in the comment section. I would love to hear what your view is on bike lanes in the city of Toronto. Thank you very much for watching. See you.